2017, 2018 Division A ARA Connect series. I'm at Iowa State University. I'm the co-chair of the Connect series. This series is focused on graduate student committee perspectives, members who are part of the ARA Division A Graduate Committee. I'm going to hand it over to them, let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to talk about graduate student life, work-life balance stuff, ways to get involved through UCA, ARA, and kind of just go where the conversation takes us today. So I'm going to pass it on to whoever would like to start off.
Madam President.
You go first.
Okay, so hi, my name is Nakia Gray-Nicholas. I am currently the chair of the Dialogic Forum for the Division A Graduate Student Committee, and I'm also on the UCA Graduate Student Committee. This is my last, semester on both committees. I am currently a full-time lecturer at Kane University, where I teach research methods to undergrads. I also adjunct at NYU. I am a fall graduate, actually, so I'm now a doctor, Nakia Gray-Nicholas, and I walk in May.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Wei Ling. I am the Division A Senior Representative for graduate students, and so most of my work is just making sure my team and Division A is providing the services for graduate students and our graduate student members and delivering messages and promoting events for whoever are interested in some of the events that are across the country. So that's my work, and I'm a doctoral candidate right now. On the job market, it's been a very scary process, but I would say all of you in the future will experience the same thing. So I'm very happy to be here and share whatever the audiences and the members have questions on.
Thank you both so much for joining the Connect series today. I know that the graduate students and current future are going to really enjoy this session. So maybe let's go ahead and get started. So the first question we have for this evening is, what are some challenges that you have faced as a graduate student, or when you were a graduate student, and how have you overcome such challenges? What are some strategies?
So I worked full-time through my entire doctoral journey. I was first a program director in higher education. So I coordinated a dual enrollment program, and I took classes in the evening. So that was really challenging to find my groove. Working all day, going to class at night, and then finding time to write and carving out that time to write. Never mind dealing with all the other challenges that arise because, life. So in order to overcome that, I kind of found my groove in when I was more effective and efficient at doing assignments and reading and writing. Unfortunately, in the earlier years, it was at night. So I did a lot of my work late in the night. I was actually a part of a group project. I don't know if the group members like, you're always sending us things like after 1 a.m. I'm like, well, that's when I have time to write, is after 1 a.m. So it was just really challenging to find that balance initially until I finally found my groove where I can actually incorporate being able to run, because I used to enjoy running before I got hurt. Run, work out, and eat right. Later on, I transitioned from higher ed admin into a lecturer position because I thought I would have more flexibility because it wasn't a set 9 to 5. So now I was teaching classes, and I kind of modified my schedule where I work some days in the morning and some days at night. And on the days I worked at night, I parked in the library, I parked in Starbucks, and I read and I wrote there. So it was just finding that groove, that work. And it took a while. It took me kind of beating myself up about not being as productive as I wanted to be. But just to realize that I am being productive, and we all have our different stages of how we progress and how we kind of work through schooling and all the other things that we have to balance while we're in this journey.
Yeah, that's a very important advice, is just finding our own journey. And I agree that I think as a doctoral student in different phases, you have different challenges. And I think to me as a full-time graduate student, I think the first year I was really dealing a lot of, or first or second year, I was really dealing a lot of anxiety and insecurity of me not knowing enough. So I think a lot of graduates seem feeling the same. It's like, oh my God, I wanted to know everything. I wanted to catch up. I wanted to be awesome and just like everybody else and the professor. But it's really like, that's, you know, that anxiety is normal. So that's my first year challenge, is really making peace with this insecure feeling of not knowing enough and this imposter syndrome. Even though we're still having this, but you know, like the first year, it was overwhelming. It was really I was overwhelmed by that. And then my second year's challenge is what I wanted to figure out what are the right thing to do at this time, because in every stage, if you know that after you graduate, you wanted to go academia, you need to be a practitioner or do work that other than academia, you have different focus that you need to do in your every single year. And when if you wanted to be assistant professor in the future, you have another route that you need to prepare yourself to do. So, and it started from year one. So I think my second year was really like figuring out what I want to do and what are the necessary steps I need to do. So, and having very limited networking is not good. So really just the challenge is go out and talk to more senior graduate students, and even just go attend university conferences or national conferences like AE or AUCA, and talking to other people who are in different stages and ask them and figuring out what are the right steps for me to do. What am I going to do during the summer? Do I need to do internship? Do I need to do research? What are the focus I need to do? And so I think my second year is really about that. And even now I still have some not really regrets, but I would have some thoughts like, if I know this is what is necessary to be done in my second year, then I probably would have better chance of doing the things I wanted to do right now. So I think that's my my first 2 years challenge. And in terms of writing dissertation, it's another challenge because it's another level that you have to be alone for such a long time, and you're a leader of doing the entire research. So that's another challenge that I'm having right now. Yeah. But it still goes back to what Nikia is saying, is that everybody has different stages, and just trying to figure out the right pace for yourself.
Yeah, I found like coming into even graduate school, right? You see what's, your colleagues are doing or what they're in, and then you try to gauge it, right? Trying to see, well, is this where I should be or where, and then, but I think it is a really big, important kind of both you said, finding what works for you, make it again, like you said, your journey and kind of figuring out that process. Throughout the process, I guess, what are some strategies? I mean, we get so busy as grad students and now PhD doctors and everything else, but maintaining, your work-life balance, trying to maintain some sanity, some, not having your scholarship becoming your life. So what are maybe some things that you both have done?
I picked up running. I was never a long distance runner. When I was younger, I ran track, but I was never long distance. So I picked up running my first year, my second semester, and I started running. If it was a really hard day and my class was just really hard and I got hit with that imposter syndrome, I would literally just go out and run a 5K. and just take my mind off of it. So I worked my way up to half marathons, and that was really good. Working out became an escape as well, to try to get my mind off of things, but also to try to rejuvenate myself so that I would be more focused. Somewhere in the middle of my doctoral journey, I met a guy, fell in love, and got married. So I guess that was a part of work-life balance. So making sure to have time for my husband and making sure to have time for my friends. Getting accountability partners when it comes to folks in your cohort or just those in the cohort before or after you. And then setting aside work time, but also time where we can all kind of de-wind and decompress and even vent or commiserate. That helped a lot to kind of be out of constantly being on for school or on, in terms of reading, in terms of writing, in terms of researching, in terms of networking, because you have to do all of that simultaneously. And it gets really exhausting to try to balance all of those things. So I found that my body sometimes forced me to take breaks, but it was better if I preemptively took those breaks. There would be nights where I would be working on like my proposal, when I was working on my dissertation proposal, where I just couldn't focus. I was also recovering from hip surgery because in all my running and obstacle course races, I got injured. And I was really mad at myself for not getting more done. And I just had to kind of sit and reflect and think that it's okay. And I'm going to get it done. And it's okay to take that break now and to fully get back to where I need to be. So finding something that distracts you, it's a bonus if it's healthy, because it is an isolating journey. Like Wei Ling mentioned, it's very isolating, depending on the stage you're in. And being that isolated, you tend to let things slide, like eating meals, sleeping, and just making sure that you're not kind of wasting away physically. So finding something to help with that definitely helped me achieve that work-life balance.
Yeah, that's a really great strategy. I think exercising is definitely one of the way for me to release my stress, and my exercise is swimming, and my other way of releasing my stress or keep my work-life balance, it has been changing. And there was when all my friends, my cohorts, are still here. They're all moving out now, and sorry about the train. I live in the downtown area, so it's a norm for me. And so I think in the past I was really open to do salsa dancing, and and sign up some dancing classes, and I'm always into some dancing classes. Can y'all still hear me? Okay. Yeah, so just find something that you can vent, and even just like talking to friends and finding cohort members that you trust and share your work. And I would also say don't neglect the negative feelings. I think one thing I learned the most is that I embrace my negative thinkings and thoughts, because it's the only way you can resolve negative thoughts is really acknowledge it and let it out, and then move on. That's the best way for me to get over with all these negativity and stress and feeling that I am not enough or not doing enough work. So I think that would be the only thing I wanted to add, other than what Nikia has just said. Yeah.
No, I'm hearing both of you. I think it's a hard thing coming in to the program and to graduate studies, and can be very lonely, because a lot of times we don't, our partners may not be in the same field, our families sometimes don't understand what we're going through. So I think that building a community is some great advice. I also I think this idea of, so I know from my own experience, my first, couple of years, I would stay up, till 2, 3 in the morning working and be miserable the next day, and, neglecting time with family and things like that. But, trying different strategies too, I think is always an okay thing to do. I recommend to people, if you have time, try to, find a couple hours at night where you're not working, and just focus on yourself and your relationships. But you definitely have to keep your sanity.
Yeah, and one caveat I would say is that I think graduate students, some of us will think it's a good way to talk to your advisor about how you feel about this whole thing. And my advice for that is, I think it's okay to mention it once in a while, like maybe twice per semester, but if you're constantly like reaching out and seeking for help or advice on that part, sometimes some professors will give you a negative label that this is just a graduate student nagging about his or her work. So I think it's good to talk to the advisor when you are looking for solutions, but you don't know what to do. Then it's good to reach out to advisors. But in terms of like emotional support, then you have to be careful about who your professors are. Are they okay with it? If they're not, then definitely don't do that to your professors. Yeah.
Right. So what do you, so kind of going to this next kind of area. So we kind of hit a little bit on the work life and challenges. Like, so at the end of the day, some of us have different career goals, different things we want to do, but typically in the area in academia, it's research, teaching, service. What are some strategies that you have engaged to construct a productive scholarly agenda that's inclusive of these areas, where they overlap or have some consistency, and even like, so in graduate school, building that? Because I know a lot of times, if we have an assistantship that's research-based, we don't get a lot of the teaching experience, or we don't get the service that we might like. So maybe what are some strategies that you both have used to try to make a productive agenda?
I think the most important thing is to develop a mentorship roundtable. So not just one mentor, but seek mentors in different fields, in different areas, in different foci. That'll help with that. Talking to your advisor, and then sitting down and setting goals for yourself every year. I would set goals for myself every year in terms of if I wanted to try to submit something in terms of my writing, how can I get involved in service in terms of like graduate organizations at the national level, but also at my university. So I made sure to get involved in organizations at my university. And then when it comes to teaching has always been something that I've done. My masters are actually English ed and special ed. So I did teaching in that sense. So I love teaching. So I always found a way to teach a course either over the summer or maybe during a semester when I stopped taking coursework, I would teach a course here and there and try to ensure that I was teaching courses that made sense to what I wanted to do in the future. I mean, it wasn't exactly what I want to do. And that's kind of a negotiation you have to make while you're still in school is, okay, I want to teach a course, but I don't want it so far out of my field that it's not really giving me the experience that I need. So setting those goals every year, and then checking with your mentors. I know I have several mentors across that I've come in contact with at my own university, at other universities, and I make sure to touch bases with them at every conference, even if it's just a 5-minute chat at one of the receptions. A lot of times it's a longer sit-down chat, but making sure to keep those relationships alive and well and getting tips and advice from what they did. So don't reinvent the wheel. Get a wheel and make it your own. If that makes sense, but definitely setting those goals. And the hardest part for me was the writing and getting it out. I love research, but then to kind of craft it and have it, and then to believe that it's good enough to be sent out to a journal was hard. So I was still, and I'm still battling imposter syndrome as it pertains to that. But getting more comfortable with asking, cohort mates or mentors, or even my significant other to, can you look this over? So I've gotten better at that. And the dialogic form, I was actually a part of the dialogic form last year, and it helped a lot. It actually got me a new mentor, right? So now I have someone who's willing to read over my work and give additional feedback. So utilizing those discussion and shares at conferences to help you with certain aspects of that research, teaching, and service is really, really vital. So get mentors, create goals, talk through some of the fears and doubts that you have with these mentors and advisors, kind of self-reflect, get things out that way. Teach, but don't teach too far away from your discipline. Sometimes it's hard to teach. Not a lot of our programs, like you mentioned, allow spaces to teach. Seek spaces outside of your university. Seek undergraduate, or if you can, graduate level courses to teach one semester, or over the summer when your load is slightly lighter, because I don't think there's a such thing as a light load. And when it comes to service, get involved in graduate student organizations on your campus, nationally with either UCA, ARA, or any other association that you're part of. And there are ways to get involved 1-year terms and 2-year terms, and to re-up if you're interested. So don't let the years pass you by and not do those things at some point. It's not going to come easy. You kind of have to work at it, but those are some of my tips and strategies.
Yeah, it's I utilize all the strategies that you mentioned, so those are really great recommendations. And on top of that, I would say, to me personally, first of all, whoever is listening to this, if you're a doctoral student and the only work that you're doing is taking classes, finish your final paper, and summer vacation, and repeat, and you're not doing enough. If you only take classes, that's the only thing that happened in your doctoral life, then you need to figure out something else to do, because that's not gonna help you with your future career. And so to me, I would say definitely balancing out with the research teaching service with your research goal, and how do you identify yourself as a researcher. And as one of my mentor was saying, that research is me-search. So you can't really separate yourself with the research, the type of research that you're doing. And my personally are very interested in and passionate about the social justice issues and the issues of school to prison pipeline. So I make sure that everything that I'm doing align with this. So when I do research, I did literature review on this. I did policy report on this, and when I do teaching, I make sure I have experience teaching social justice leadership and the relevant issues on that. And when I do service, I also select services that is conducting research in some nonprofit organizations who's doing exact the same thing that I am doing. So a lot of the civil rights organizations are doing school to prison pipeline issues, and I reach out to them and volunteer to do some work, and even just reach out to the community that I am in and just see what I can do and what I can help. And the policy work that I'm doing, I also go to Texas legislation and try to understand what is happening in the school discipline reforms that's put in place in Texas. So in terms of doing service, you're not just doing whatever. You can just go teach English literature if your future career goal is not about it, because in your entire PhD program, you have only very limited time to do certain amount of things, and you don't want to waste those time to do something that is not benefiting you in the future. So I think to make sure that things that you're doing align with your research and balancing out, not just only taking classes, but also making sure you're balancing your research, teaching service at all levels. And, you know, like just even the service that I'm doing with Division A, I know doing this will help me mentally to stay connected with graduate students, and I feel happy to provide services to other graduate students. So so just pick one or two, just keep the balance on how those can align with your research career, and at the same time find something that keeps your mental health balance at the same time. That will be my advice.
I have some great advice. I think the importance of not just doing something to do it, but doing it with a purpose. Figuring out ways to integrate your research, teaching, and service so it makes sense and you can set yourself up. Because, like you said, Wei-Ling, you don't have much time to do it in grad school. It goes by so fast. I mean, while you're in it, it's like this is taking forever. But then once you're almost done, it's you know, it flew by. Can you talk to me a little bit about like conferencing? Like, how do we navigate conferences? What are some strategies? Because that's a great networking opportunity. What are some strategies that you both have used at conferences to meet people? What are some programs you got involved with that would be a benefit for you know, people going to conferences in the future? I know my first conference, I just went in there and I had no clue what I was doing. And so maybe just share a little bit of information about that.
My first conference, I was totally overwhelmed. It was ARA. It was in Philadelphia, and ARA is massive, right? And the space that it's housed in is massive. So you tend to get lost. So the way I tackled my first conference was to go through literally the entire booklet and highlight programs related to my field of interest. And then highlight people I wanted to see, even if they weren't necessarily related to my field of interest, because sometimes you need something not always in your wheelhouse, but it can lead you to, you know, more fleshed out ideas or, you know, different ways of doing things, just different ways of approaching and looking at things. So I literally did that. I literally sat there with another doc student who is a year ahead of me at NYU, and we just looked through the booklet and highlighted, and then went to sessions from there. And it was lacking in the sense that I felt like I was just going and not really staying and asking questions and engaging and entering into the conversation. So I made a promise to myself that in future years I would do that. And in future years I would actually submit proposal to these conferences. But what ultimately was the biggest help for me was being a Jackson Scholar, a Barbara Jackson Scholar through UCEA. So at that first ARA, I noticed a friend of mine who doc student in another school had one of those little ribbon tags that said Jackson Scholar. And I'm just like, my thing that year was, what are all these ribbon tags? What do they mean? So I did more digging, found out what it meant, and was just enamored with the program and what it entailed, preparing, you know, traditionally marginalized doc students for the professoriate. So I wanted to be a part of it. So I kind of pushed for my department to nominate me, and was nominated. And when I received it, use that as springboard to help. Okay, now that I'm in this program, they provide professional development at these conferences. You do get a mentor. I had been a part of other leadership programs that kind of helped with navigating these different venues. So I got more intentional with how I address conferences. I made sure to propose, and I got a few accepted here and there. So, but I still took the time to go through the book. It became the app on my iPad. I didn't want to get that chunky book anymore. And I searched for content relevant to my interests, but also methodologies that aligned with mine. And, folks who were doing case studies, folks who were doing embedded mixed method work, and folks that I was really interested in seeing, and made sure that when I was in these spaces and in those rooms, that I either entered into the conversation as they were talking when it was Q&A, or if it was something really stand out that I wanted to address, I went up to these individuals afterwards, introduced myself, asked a little bit more, asked, is there something of yours that I should definitely read? I've already read this and this, but is there something else you think that I've missed in some form or fashion? And then I had that time to sit down with people. Like I said, I didn't want it to just be work. For me, I don't want conferences to just be work. So coffee chats, lunch chats, dinner chats with those I consider mentors or pretty close to mentors, those that I consider peers. So I set aside time to do that as well. So definitely scheduled in terms of everything that I did, and some days more packed than other, but it was so beneficial to see people in the space of presenting or be in the space of presenting and get feedback, and then to see people in a more relaxed space and to talk about things that included research, teaching, and service, and how I was, how they were, how work was going, but also how are you doing? Because I think that personal connection is important. As Bailey mentioned earlier, you don't want to just run around telling everybody this, I can't do this, it's hard all the time. But there's some people that don't mind hearing that because they went through the same thing. So they have advice for you. So making sure to not make it all about work and not just going to all the sessions, but taking time for yourself to sit down in those moments and taking time for yourself to actually reflect on what happened at conference. Every conference I go to, I open up a new Word doc and I take extensive notes in the sessions I presented in the sessions I attended, from the talks I went to, spark ideas. I actually, recraft, like I'll go and then recraft like my research statement or my teaching statement or something of that fashion. And I'll change my goals around and I get really encouraged and empowered afterwards. And I have this to-do list. I always create a to-do list too. After this conference, contact these folks, read these pieces, go back to this statement, rework it, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to use these conferences as a tool for growth, as a tool for networking, but also as a tool for actually de-stressing and letting loose, because now you're not in the space of your program. A lot of times you're in a different city, which means that you don't have to be on all the time. So you can take that extra time and being in a bed that's not your own, because sometimes when you're in your own bed, your mind runs rapid and so you don't sleep. But when you're in a bed that's not your own, sleep may come a little easier. So definitely use that time to also try to get some more rest.
Yeah, those are really great advice, and thank you, Brendan, for bringing this question up, because I think I had so many graduate students come reach out to me and ask me about how do they, what are the advice I can give them about attending conferences, and I see some common behaviors that I think it just shouldn't be that way, because going to conference the first year is definitely overwhelming. I was really overwhelmed the first year, and so I would say, make sure if you have enough funding and you are allowed to go to conference like AERA, make sure you go every year and do something every year, not just go there and chasing the big name professors, because that's not going to help you with anything. Because if you go just chase with some big name celebrity professors, other students wanted to get their attention, and some professors don't really necessarily impressed by what you're doing. So I think the first year is really, if you're overwhelmed with those sessions, starting with going to some graduate student sessions, because those are really a great sessions for beginners who just wanted to understand what is the academia world looks like. And other than that, you can also just go to some sessions that are aligned with your research interests, but not like, oh, this is interesting, oh, that is interesting, oh, and go everywhere. It doesn't. It's a waste of your time to, because conference is only a couple days or 4 or 5 days, and it gathering all the professors from internationally, and all the graduate students internationally. It's a great opportunity for you to connect with people outside of your institution for a couple days. And so it's really wonderful if you can just go to several sessions and learn about what they're doing. That's the first year that I think it's really great to do that, and connect with several people if you can do that. And the second year, if you have opportunity to attend Barbara Jackson Scholars, or don't miss out any mentorship sessions. And that's one of my professors would tell me, that it's never enough, never too much in terms of mentorship. If there was mentorship opportunities, just go reach out and don't miss it out, because it's always good to have someone take a look at your work or listening to what you need and give you some advice. You don't really need to take everything in, but just take the advantage of having all this intellectual, super smart people in the group in this event, then take advantage of it and meet with other people. In the second year, I think I would suggest graduate students started to submit your proposal, your coursework proposal, and finding the right place to submit. And it's kind of hard for me without anybody telling me what to do. So don't shy away to ask people, hey, this is my work, where should I submit? Do you have any advice on that? I think that will help you to get more opportunity to get accepted and get to present your work. And UCA has this really great service program for graduate students. It's a graduate student summit. It's growing and it's very graduate student friendly. So as long as your work is not too crappy, or just like very drafty, not even finish your conclusion or not even done anything, then I think your acceptance rate was pretty high. So I think that is a very empowering moment. You get to present your work in conference, and also like sign up with all the proposal reviews. Those are the great practice to put you in the field of academia and be part of it, because regardless you're going to become, if you wanted to become academia or not, that is a skill that you get to critically reading other people's work and giving feedback. And you don't know, some opportunity may come up in the future that someone know that you have a good review, then some journal may invite you to review some papers. So those are my advice. And so every year when you go to conference, set up one goal. Like, this year I wanted to focus on mentorship, then go to mentorship sessions. Or this year I wanted to do some methods work, then go to some sessions about methodology. But at the same time, like what Nikia said, don't forget to network with people, because that's, the networking is really important. And not just, and also it's a good skill for you to practice your interpersonal skills, because you will be surprised how important the interpersonal skills are in terms of working in academia. And I heard from so many professors mentioning that to me, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. So doing academia is not just about doing work, it's also about people. So you also need to practice on how to do that. And also, like echoing back with what Nikia said, it's you will find right people that have shared the same struggle, and you can just vent even with some tears, and you felt good about it. And after that, you just went back to your institution, recharge, and get to do whatever is necessary to be done, and no harmful feelings or no damages to your future. So that, I think that's conference is a really great place for you to go do something with a purpose, and don't waste your time to do something that is not gonna benefit you or not gonna give you any type of not gonna let you bring anything back after the conference. So that's my advice.
Can I just, Wei-Ling reminded me of something. But yes, take opportunities, even if you don't get accepted into the main conference. A lot of the divisions have their pre-conference sessions. Similar to ours, we have our dialogic forum. It's closed for this year, but apply in the future. It's an opportunity to present and actually to get more one-on-one feedback than in the larger conference setting. The Graduate Student Summit is also another great opportunity. We do have a roundtable. We do have roundtable sessions during the GSS where if your work is in progress, that's perfectly fine. We're actually looking for work in progress. So there are paper sessions, like traditional paper sessions, there are Ignite sessions, and then there are work in progress sessions where you can get feedback. In addition to that, there is a joint venture between AERA Division A and L and UCA called Clark Scholars. And this is for graduate students who have defended their proposal or really close to defending their proposal, and they can present in a session and they get a mentor as well. So these sessions geared toward grad students are a great entry if you're still in doubt about submitting to the bigger main conference, or if you didn't get accepted into the main conference. And if you are needing funding, you can, almost all the divisions offer some type of award that you can win as a graduate student. I know for us, we have ours, and applications are coming up. So consider that if you are presenting in New York, there's an opportunity to win some travel funds to help you out. But definitely take those opportunities. These graduate student pre-conferences are really geared toward graduate students in the sense that you get more individualized attention, you get a feedback session, and you get essentially a lifelong mentor if you continue to follow up with that person, which is not always guaranteed in the main conference.
Yeah, I agree. And the travel funding you mentioned is we call it the Foster Polite Scholarship. So and so if you, I think the deadline is already coming up, right? It's about, yeah. So don't forget to apply, and also I would say don't get discouraged if you didn't get anything. And I think what I learned from my PhD program is really the hardest part is to make peace with rejections. 90% of your PhD life is gonna be rejections, and 10% will be acceptance. So really just getting used to it and understand that, okay, this is rejection, move on, and don't hold on to that and feel like, oh, this sucks, my life ends, let me just drop out. And it's not the end of the world. Like I would say almost everybody are experiencing some type of rejection. So remember that opportunities are out there. If you don't get present in AERA, there are some international conferences that you can reach out to, and there are so many other conferences that you can go. AERA is not the only place that you can go and define you as a successful person or not. So definitely make peace with rejections, and remember that 90% of your work gonna get rejected, and so when you get rejected, so don't take it too personal. I think that's also very important.
No, I think that's some great advice. I think really this, it's all about persistence, right? We all have had those experiences with rejection, either scholarships or proposals or trying to publish, and but just got to keep the faith that it's not always going to happen like that. You're eventually gonna have some ups and downs, but that's part of the process, I kind of want to we're running short or getting close to that time. I want to be respectful of your all's time, but I really wanted to talk just briefly about just can you describe some of your experiences serving on graduate committees like Division A and others, and what's that like, and how other students can also get involved and benefits of that, and just what's it like?
It's been amazing. I think a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, sometimes we can get caught up, like Wei Ling mentioned, in those big names or only want to talk to established scholars without giving credence to the fact that as graduate students, we're all budding scholars. We're all working towards similar goals. And it's a really great and comforting space to be around like-minded people who are dedicated to providing opportunities and making things a little bit easier for other graduate students. So one of the reasons I'm a part of Division A GSC and then the UCA GSC is because I thoroughly enjoyed my experience participating in the programming that these two groups set forth. And I wanted to be a part of that. For me, there was certain things that I didn't see that I wanted to see. So I wanted to be a part of creating those opportunities for other students. I wanted to be a part of a group that was working hard to ensure that graduate students, because we are the next wave of scholars, that we're properly developed and not just aiming for that established scholar, in the distance goal, but we actually see more realistic goals in each other. Because on this board, Division A, and on UCA's graduate student board, we're all at different stages in our program. So we can actually give advice and give tips to each other and how we navigated the waters to get to where we are, or some things that we wouldn't do again, or some things that we would do again. So for me, it was a must to be a part of something like this. I thoroughly enjoy planning as well. So it tapped into my planning, but it provides you a platform to network on a whole nother level, because it's not just coming from a student in a different institution. It's coming from a student who's dedicated to planning programming for other students. So a lot of times those hard to reach professors become a little bit more accessible. So now you have conversations with current and past and future presidents of UCA, or vice presidents of Division A, or executive directors of these institutions. So they become a bit more accessible, and you begin to see that it's not an unattainable goal to be where they are, despite the fact that you're in a stage where you're constantly bombarded with doubt and, like you both were mentioning, rejection, right? So it's been really great. So my advice for other doctoral students is to consider getting involved in some form or fashion. And not all commitments are the same. There are some commitment levels that aren't as taxing, aren't as time consuming. So, thinking of the divisions that you're a part of and what they have to offer, because different divisions have different things. We have 1 year and 2 year commitments in the Division A GSC. At UCA, it's a 2 year commitment, but we're working on a program that's a 1 year commitment called the Ambassador Program. So being a part of those things provide you access to some scholars that you wouldn't really have access to, provide you an opportunity to plan programming that you deem is important and that you wanted to see, and that others want to see too, because you've had conversations with them. So my advice would be definitely to get involved in some form or fashion sometime during your graduate career, because once you are a scholar, you're going to want to get involved with these institutions and entities anyway. So this is a great entry into it. You're going to want to get involved in the planning committee of, AERA, or the planning committee of UCA. Currently, there's actually one of our student representatives on the planning committee for UCA, which is the first time that there's been an official student representative on that planning committee. So it's an opportunity to plan out and scope out the location of the conference, how these, what's the theme of the conference, the different sessions at the conference, and even the fun part of the conference, which is the banquet, right? So all of those things. And because she's on the planning committee, the GSC got an opportunity to talk to the planning chair to say, okay, maybe we would like to see this. So it's an opportunity to make those impacts that are going to be vitally important for you, not only your own career, but the careers of other graduate students.
Yeah, that's a really great summarize of what you can benefit from serving as a committee member. I think one thing I would like to add is it's really a great opportunity for you to advocating on what you want to see in this big conference. And I would say what I want to see, maybe it's not representing the whole graduate student body, but at least some graduate students would like to see. So my experience of engaging with the Division A is I get to I would say don't underestimate any level of involvement with your committee work, because every single of our work make great impact on graduate students' life. And even just in Division A, every time when I send out announcement emails, I got like 900 students, they received this email. So it's a lot. It's a lot of impact that you can make, and I get to represent as a Division A graduate students to attend, the executive meetings with Division A faculty members, and really bringing them up. Hey, here are some graduate students who wanted to do something. So can you provide these services? And even just with having a meeting with all divisions graduate student representative and just sending the message back to AERA, and you can see that they started to do some things that are more graduate student focused. So I would say that's one part I feel really great about is I get to advocating for graduate students' needs. And also at the same time, I get to, like, even right now, I'm talking to Nakia from New York University and Brendan is from Iowa State University, and really building a deeper relationship with graduate students in different universities, not just going to conference and say hi, have coffee time, and that's it. We can build really great relationship, and who knows, in the future, we all gonna be committee members or in academia, and maybe we're all gonna be like leading scholars, and we can build relationship, and there's so much potential of building like cross institutional relationship that will benefit all of us, and not just all of us, but also like providing the right services for graduate students. I think that's really rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree enough with both what you had to say. I know in just my role as the Connect Series chair that I have an awesome opportunity to network, to meet scholars that I find their work to be interesting, and reach out to them and send them an email and say, hey, would you mind being on? And they're more, this whole mentor idea and willing to share their knowledge, not just myself, but, with other people, right? And it's free. And it's pretty awesome that, you get that access beyond just reading an article or, a book. So we have a couple minutes. I just wanted to ask maybe this is going to be hard because I know there's multiple things that we could go on and talk about. What is one piece of advice that you'd give to current future students, or maybe your younger selves a few years ago when you got into the grad school, to help them successfully complete their graduate education?
I think for me, the biggest thing is to trust your journey, trust your process, and not to compare your journey to others. It gets hard and it gets tempting to do so, but to really trust your process and to surround yourself with those that support you, even if they don't understand, because my family doesn't understand. Right? So those that support you, that even if they don't understand, but those that also understand. You want folks that understand. So a lot of the things we discussed earlier tonight, take those tips and strategies into consideration and figure out what works for you. You don't have to do everything that we said. I didn't do everything all at once. It all came in stages. That's just some of the things that I did to kind of get me through. But know that the finish line is there and you're going to make it. It looked really far away, especially working full time and going to school full time. But I got there, and I got there in a reasonable amount of time, right? So I got there in 5 years and a little bit. So push forward, trust your process. It's okay to feel bummed sometimes. You need to acknowledge that, but don't sit in that. And know that rejection is just redirection. Okay. Or it might be a revise and resubmit. So, so take it in stride.
Yeah, those are really great advice. And I would just say, yeah, just focusing on yourself and really like remember to constantly reevaluating what is the purpose of your work. And so always bring a purpose when you either attending conference or selecting classes, writing your research or doing services. Just remember just reevaluating what is your purpose and do it with some type of goal, and trusting yourself, and don't let other noises to impacting or influence what you want to do, but yet at the same time keep it open-minded with other options and different advices, and just really surround yourself with right people and positive people that won't just tell you that maybe you should just quit. Those are bad people. Don't be with them. Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for volunteering your time. We're just about right at 7 o'clock, so I won't keep you any longer, but I just really want to appreciate all that you had to share and the knowledge that you had to share. I know even for myself and trying to go through this journey, that what you had to talk about tonight, there's things that I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna conference a little better. I'm gonna organize my time a little better. So thank you both for all that you do for ARA, UCA, just being positive grad folks, and well, now doctors, for us coming up. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for organizing this and bringing up so many great questions, and you've done a really great job.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Great questions.
Be sure to tune in for the next Connect series, which should be at the end of March before ARA. We'll have a flyer out soon. Thank you.